traveling down the interstate. She saw a baby walking down the side of the road and called 911. She stated when she got out of her vehicle to check on the child, a man came out of the trees and mumbled that he was checking on the baby. She claimed that the man then picked her up and she screamed. She stated he then made her go over a fence. She claims he then forced her into a car, and the next thing she remembers is being in the trailer of an 18-wheeler. She stated that the male was with a female. However, she never saw the female, only hearing her voice. She also told detectives she could hear a baby crying. She told detectives the male had orange hair with a big bald spot on the back. She said she was able to escape the 18-wheeler and fled on foot, only to be captured again and then was put in a car. She claimed she was then blindfolded but was not tied up because the captor said they did not want to leave impressions on her wrists. She said that they took her into a house and made her get undressed. She believes they took pictures of her, but she does not remember them having any physical or sexual contact. She stated the next day she woke up and was fed cheese crackers by the female. She said the woman also played with her hair, but could not remember anything else. At some point, she was put back in a vehicle she claims was able to escape while it was in the West Hoover area. She told detectives she ran through lots of woods until she came out near her residence. During this interview, detectives noted that Carlee had a small injury to her lip, and she claimed that her head was hurting. She also had a tear in her shirt. Detectives also noted that she had $107 cash in her right sock. Out of respect for Carlee and her family, detectives did not press for additional information in this interview and made plans to speak with her in detail after giving her time to rest. Detectives continue analyzing data from Carlee's cell phone that was left behind at the scene. We enlisted the help of the United States Secret Service in conducting this analysis. Part of what data includes several internet searches in the days leading up to her disappearance that I think are very relevant to this case. On July 11th at 7:30 a.m., the term, "Do you have to pay for an Amber Alert?" was searched. On July 13th at 1:03 a.m., the day of her disappearance, the term, "How to take money from a register without being caught," was searched. On July 13th at 2:13 a.m., the day of her disappearance, the term Birmingham bus station was searched. On July 13th, 2:35 a.m., a search for a one-way bus ticket from Birmingham to Nashville was conducted with a departure date of July 13th. On July 13th at 12:10 p.m., a search for the movie Taken, a film about abduction, was conducted. There were two searches related to Amber Alerts on a computer at Carlee's place of employment, including one regarding the maximum age of an Amber Alert. There were other searches on Carlee's phone that appeared to shed some light on her mindset, but out of respect for her privacy, we will not be releasing the content of those searches at this time. We've asked to interview Carlee a second time, but have not been granted that request. As you can see, there are many questions left to be answered, but only Carlee can provide those answers. What we can say is that we've been unable to verify most of Carlee's initial statement made to investigators, and we have no reason to believe that there is a threat to the public safety related to this particular case. Thank you very much.
All right. With that, we'll open the floor for some questions. Please raise your hand, and I will call on you. Carol.
Chief, do you expect any charges against Carlee Russell in connection with the disappearance and in connection with what was taken from the Woodhouse Spa?
Right now, our focus is to determine those 49 hours, so the investigation continues. So to be perfectly honest with you, that hasn't even entered our mind or been discussed.
One more question. Is it surprising to you that the family has not been cooperative in returning to be questioned?
Well, I think the family has stated to us that they didn't think that in her mental state right now, because of trauma of the incident, that she's not ready to talk, is what we've been told.
Go ahead, sir. Yeah.
What up, Nurse Gang? What up, TikTok? So, the update I never wanted to truly have to report on. So, we've all been talking about the Carlee Russell case. This is her Instagram, Carlee. Over the last few days, you know, she shocked the nation and black women all over the country felt empowered. We felt finally pleased that America was caring about black women. Every national news outlet was reporting about Carlee Russell. This is the first time this has ever happened. The hunt was on to find this black girl. But then when she showed up at our house, it got a little breezy. Why did it get a little breezy? Because she just showed up. So then that's when the world got divided. Wait, what's going on? Something is not right here. Okay, we don't want to speak. We want our privacy. Something is going on. What is going on? Well, when you start talking about something, people start DMing you the truth. It looks like 50 people from Hoover have already got fired for leaking what's really going on with this case. And it's trickled into my DM. So you mean to tell me all this was because she was trying to get back at her ex-man? Yeah, that boyfriend that spoke out about her being kidnapped and held and tortured, yeah, that was her ex-man. And he actually cheated on her with a stripper. And Carlee had it out with the stripper. And to get back at him, yeah, she disappeared herself. And then got afraid when it blew up. This is what Carlee said to the side chick. Itch, please. He told me everything you said about me, and you thought I told him to say that. I wasn't even with him. You're delusional AF if you think y'all little conversation was anything more than convenience and the fact that he used you to get back at me out of anger. You want to talk about I don't compare to you on your worst day? Girl, bye. You're miserable, or at least should be, being a stripper to provide for a child I've heard you've had from multiple people. So not surprised you don't know who your baby daddy is. Mention me or contact my NIGGA again, and you'll see I'm not the one to play with. You don't want you and your whole family touched. You're poor. I'm rich. You're a stripper. I'm a nurse. You're ugly. I'm beautiful. You could never. You're the bottom of the barrel. Someone from the police department just could not watch us all suffer. So they released these details. Here's the update. She's sticking to the story that she was abducted. She says she was lured into the woods by some people who live in the woods, described as a person with orange hair, balding on top, tied her up and drove her around and put her in an 18-wheeler and fed her cheeses for 2 days, and they painted her nails. They kept her on 150 somewhere, and somehow she managed to get away and run through the woods to her neighborhood until she got into her house and then goes into the hospital. Hoover got some Ring doorbell footage from her neighborhood, and it just shows her walking casually until she gets close to her house, and then she starts sprinting and flailing arms and acting a fool.
No.
She got caught stealing from work that day, failed out of nursing school, and has been on drugs. She had her friend behind her, and that's who picked her up. She was with her friend all weekend. The police knew she was safe because she unblocked her ex while she was quote-unquote abducted. She planned to disappear and realized it wasn't going to work.
No, Carlee, no.
And we are joined now by Eric Guster, a trial attorney and legal analyst in Birmingham, Alabama. So you say you have some doubts about this story. Some things don't add up. What stands out to you and why?
Well, there are a lot of issues that are occurring in this story. Number one, being from Central Alabama, there has been no BOLO, no be on the lookout for suspects. And the Hoover Police Department has been very, very, very quiet about this. If there is someone who was abducting women on the side of the road, we would have descriptions. We would know who they were. We would know what kind of cars to look for, because all of us who live in the area were really on pins and needles for the whole weekend.
So how do investigators go about tracking her, do you believe, validating or invalidating the story that she told law enforcement?
Well, one of the things that they have is video. Hoover Police Department released video in reference to where her car stopped, because what do people do when they are not very truthful about events? They forget that there's video camera everywhere. And what they're going to do is they're going to track her cell phone, see where she went. They're going to look at, from what I understand, she was at a local motel, and they're going to pull camera footage from there. They will also ask to speak to people who may be persons of interest, people who may have helped her, people who may have seen her, and her friends and family and close people to her, to see exactly what they say occurred if they saw her that weekend.
Can you tell us a little bit about the mood in Birmingham when this story first broke? Were there a lot of people on edge? What was the sense in the community?
Everyone was on edge. I'm married, and I told my wife, don't stop for anyone who's on the side of the road. Just call 911 or call the emergency helpline. I called my family members and other friends. Make sure you don't stop, because everyone was afraid that there were some kidnappers on the loose. But now that she returned home on her own on Saturday night, and there's been nothing from the police department except a statement where they say, there was no, well, they stated she called and said that there was a child on the side of the road. However, this I-459, the interstate, is a very, very heavily traveled interstate, and no one else saw what she claimed to see. So it's a lot of mystery behind this, a lot of tension, and people are actually relieved that she's fine, but really want to know what the whole story is.
This is Van Silk, not at my house. You just listened to a young lady by the name of Calico. Allegedly, Carlee Russell basically faked the whole abduction. I'm saying allegedly because you got to be careful. But a lot of people have speculated that there was something else to this story. I told my daughter, I hope this is not another Tawana Brawley situation. Back in the 80s when Tawana Brawley was missing for 4 days upstate New York, and they found her in feces, and she was just a total mess, Tawana Brawley. And Reverend Al Sharpton and a lot of civil rights leaders took up for her. The only find, and the people that she blamed, saying it was some white man that kidnapped her for 4 days, and come to find out she was lying. It's no different than Jesse Smollett and his situation. Now, we have a problem with Carlee Russell because, first of all, ain't no baby walking on no highway with all those cars passing by. You the only one that's seen it. I always said there had to be somebody to pick her up, because there was no way in the world she could have got to where she was without somebody picking her up. Evidently, that car was not in the cam video. And that's why the police is saying, you know what? There's more to the story. Because from what I'm hearing, her watch and her phone, I guess she got one of those smart watches, and her phone and her wig was left behind. The reason why, because that way you can't ping the phone or ping the watch to know the location. Please don't let this be another Tawana Brawley, because this is starting to stink, and it's going to make Black women and women of color, when things do happen, is it real or is it fake? I mean, this is a shame that we have to live in a time where I basically made some comments. She just wanted to go viral. You went viral. You had every news organization, not just in Alabama, around the world, on your story. Now, this seems like if this is the truth coming out, you need to go to jail for wasting taxpayers' dollars, lying, and making up this story. Now, I don't know if it's true, but I think 90% of us think this is some BS. Why would she do this? What was the reason? Damn. All I could say, to further notice, I'm saying allegedly, but then, we don't need this right now. We definitely don't need this. This your brother Van Silk, not in my house. I gotta go, man. It's just too much for me right now. I gotta go.